Hello and welcome to Sondeka Festival 2021. My name is Nyangao and I'm a gamer. I started gaming in the early ages of my childhood with still floppy disks and slowly progressed. By the time I reached 2018, I built my own simulator and decided it was time to share with everybody. This started with my love for motorsports, but a lack of access to it. It was much easier to buy the steering wheel and start with sim racing. It's a good way to learn cars and get seat time without spending too much money, to the point where even professional racing teams are doing that. I founded Simulation in 2018 as a way of bringing together the community of people that shared the same passion of racing and gaming. After approaching a few people, eventually in 2019, Shuffle PCs decided to come on board. We built a custom machine, especially to run the games, and it's been good from there. To set up the simulator, it requires a few things. Steering wheel, naturally, with force feedback, because there's no point any other way in this day and age. Pedals, they come normally 2 or 3. I, as a person, prefer manual driving with the clutch and the H gears, so otherwise you use 2 pedals and you can use the flappies on the back of the steering wheel. Eventually I decided to add myself a handbrake because I like drifting so much, and it's very useful just to be able to have that extra little piece of equipment. A few other modifications I did was change the steering wheel itself from the original. I removed the pedals from the case and inverted them, added a small vibration to the brake pedal so that I can have some kind of feedback to let me know that it's reached a certain point. Having a good monitor helps. This big wide TV, I find it's okay for sim racing, but I don't like using it for first-person shooter, so I have also a small 24-inch at my desk, which is much more comfortable now when I'm going to sit with my keyboard and mouse and play a game like that, or if I want to browse on the internet or something. The PC is i5 with Radeon RX 580, which has 8 GB of a dedicated GPU RAM, mostly sufficient for just about all the games I've thrown at it, even modern games. The gaming industry is one of the few industries that's growing so much and doesn't seem to have any signs of wanting to slow down anytime soon. Some of the challenges we faced in the video game industry or gaming industry here in general in Kenya is a lack of exposure to a lot of the more recent technologies and methods that are being used. We're a long way away from where most of the action happens, which would be in States and Europe. So sometimes it's hard for us to get decent connections to particular servers and the likes. Importing stuff is also very difficult, so sometimes we find that we just don't have the equipment also that we need to progress. Also just the general exposure to the crowd, where you can't compare how our games convention would match with let's say E3 in Vegas. The exposure is a lot less, so definitely it's been a challenge to get technology and showcase it easily. We're also facing other various problems like cultural barriers, whereby it's quite difficult for some kids to explain to their parents that they want to be involved in the gaming industry instead of being a doctor or a lawyer, which is generally the kind of occupations that are smiled upon more in the community. So highest moments have been many, but 2 really stand out. One, which was in 2019, Johnny Walker hosted the Kenya Racing Festival for the first time, And 20 teams got to fight out between go-karting and sim racing for a first prize, which was all expenses paid, to watch Formula One in Abu Dhabi, which I won along with some of my mates, and we had an amazing experience getting to see all of that firsthand. The other highest moment would be just having or being a part of the simulation team and community where we discover young talent, and at the end of the day we have fun enjoying ourselves playing the games that we love to play. So that's something which still till today, every day, continues as being a high moment. COVID has generally had two major impacts in the industry, and they're both extreme, one being extremely positive and the other being extremely negative. Starting with the negative, as you can imagine, being in a lockdown and a quarantine, we're not able to enjoy the same experiences as we used to last year, such as cosplay and generally just sharing the games and being a part of the community live in real time. So that's been sad, but on the upside, the gaming industry has received a massive boost because people are stuck at home and need something to do. Naturally, gaming has been there to fill the void and to keep a lot of us mentally sane during the lockdown. Sim racing received an extra boost whereby the real life racers were unable to compete in their events, yet they still had sponsor obligations to meet. So a lot of them moved over to a virtual world for a few weeks, and it really helped pick the sport and give it some kind of exposure. The gaming industry as a whole entails a very wide spectrum whereby you have your indie developer who develops the best he can with what he's got for a passion, and then you've got someone like EA who will host a game like Apex Legends, which is free, completely free, and that's still a profit project from their perspective. There's very little passion involved in it. So when we ask whether or not the industry is being maximized fully, in some areas definitely, and in other areas definitely not. When we start to explore the boundaries and the benefits of what the gaming industry can do for society, we start to get into a really, really deep subject whereby people are really finding a particular focus from gaming. Like, it's something that can be very easily accessible. You don't have to travel away from your house. Once you have your PC or your console, you don't need extra equipment. You just need to make sure you have some electricity and some internet. And these are things which we would have anyways, regardless. So it makes sense as a very economical step into discovering more about what you would like to do. For example, as young kids, it can really open up their eyes as to whether they want to become into animation or sound or maybe programming. In my case, it's definitely shown me that I enjoy engineering, physically and electrically engineering stuff, and it's helped me now develop further my passion in that field. There's still so much of the industry left to explore and exploit. So as people get more creative and technology advances, I'm sure we'll be seeing even more wild stuff that we could never have imagined. The future of the industry was really going to depend on having some good investors behind who can really help the creatives achieve their vision and achieve their goals to produce that next level, because without some kind of support as a single unit, it's very difficult, or it's going to take a very long time to reach those levels. For the many who are struggling to make it, I guess my best advice is to stay in there. You have to do whatever you can do to get where you want to be. It's not easy. I never had all of my equipment given to me in one go. I had to buy things slowly. I worked. As I saved, I got something, and then I would add another piece, and this is probably a pattern that's going to continue for the rest of my life. But for those who are there hustling for equipment, you keep hustling for that equipment. You'll get everything that you want to get if you work hard enough and you keep believing in yourself. So you can find me on most social media, Twitch, Insta, YouTube, under Nyangao.
Hi, and welcome to the Sondeka Festival. My name is Fraser, and I'm the owner of the Brandy bus in Nairobi, which has been running for about 4 years now. And as far as I know, it's the only converted bus we have in Kenya that you can stay in. What inspires me is finding new ways to reimagine old items, old things, to put new life into them, to think of new creative ways to reuse what we have instead of maybe just building something totally from scratch, taking what is already here and making something out of it. My highest moment is definitely when I started to get my first bookings through Airbnb. I started this project not knowing how people were gonna take it, if it was gonna be accepted by people, whether it was gonna be a huge failure. I had no idea. So when I started getting my first guests here and getting positive feedback, that was definitely a huge high moment for me. I use Instagram and I use Facebook, and at least once a month I offer free nights to people who are influencers, photographers, videographers, people who will come in and either give me content to share or make content to share on their own platforms, which helps me spread the word about the bus. And on Airbnb, I have a very good understanding on how to rank high on the website as well. So I make sure that I'm following all those steps so that I'm always seen on the website as well. Technology is pretty much everything that I based this project on. When I started building this, I built it as an Airbnb project. So the whole platform and the whole website was where I started the idea from, thinking that I was going to use that platform to rent out this space that I had built here. I think that tourism here is maximized quite well in the sense that we have a lot of great options for people to come and stay. We have amazing activities for tourists when they do come here. I do think that on a government level, we could do better to make, our roads and everything more accessible, these places that people go to make them easier to get to. And instead of having to fly to a lot of places, if we had that road infrastructure that people could drive more often, I think that would help a lot with our tourism. When you walk into the bus, you have 2 sofas that are also single beds. On the same level, we have a fully stocked kitchen. It has all the kitchen equipment you can need. It has a sink, a 2-ring gas burner, a microwave, fridge. We have a CD player with a huge selection of CDs so you can listen to music, an indoor dining option on this level. And then connected to the bus is a built-on full-size bathroom with a shower, sink and toilet. On the top level, we have 2 double beds, so 4 more people can sleep up there. And one of the best things about being here is actually the outside area, where we have an outside dining table, an outside fireplace, some sun lounges to relax on, and a really beautiful garden full of butterflies and birds. Working in tourism can be really great, but of course, like any job, it has its hard parts. On the plus side, you get to meet so many amazing people from Kenya and from all over the world, and I've really enjoyed that part of it. On the negative side, of course, tourism is a business where you are trying to please people, and sometimes you can't please all the people all the time. So you can get some negative feedback sometimes, and you really have to try to take that well and change whatever they've suggested and not take it too much to heart. When I started this project here, there was a lot of people who thought I was crazy, but I think sometimes with creativity, that's what your reaction you will get from people in the beginning, and you just have to persevere with the idea that you have, trust in yourself and your own gut feeling, and don't necessarily listen to other people. So the Brandy bus can be found on Airbnb, on Facebook and on Instagram. So I'd love all of you to come check it out, come stay with us, come take a ride in the bus and enjoy the Sondeka Festival.
My name is David MuturI and I'm from Meru. Currently I'm in Nairobi doing my studies in Technical University of Kenya, doing Bachelor of Engineering in Civil Engineering. Apart from engineering, I do art. I'm an artist. I do oil paintings, pencil arts, acrylic paintings, and spray paintings too. Nilianza kufanya art when I was young, around 10 years. Back then, nilikuwa, I think, class 3. Yeah, I used to love art. Pia my dad alikuwa anani encourage. Ile time naweza sema niliweza kufanya art vizuri mpaka watu wanafurahia was when I was in Form 4 back in 2017. Hapo ndipo nilianza kufanya art and many people are amazed, wanashindwa, how did you do this? Naweza sema I'm doing good. Watu wanafurahia picha zangu and I've developed new skills. Yeah, I'm doing good in the industry. To make an art piece ikuwe successful, there is a process unafuata ndio umake an art. Kwanza kabisa ndio uanze kuchora, lazima ukuwe na idea. Unaenda kuchora nini? Na mbona unachora hii stuff? So the idea might come from many areas. Inaweza kuwa emotions, kitu kama ndoto, kitu umeenda tu ukaona tu kwa streets mahali kakuinspire tu, you make the art. So you need the materials. Unaweza, kama unataka ikuwe painting ya oil paint, you need the oil paint, you need the canvas. Kama ni acrylic paint, you need the brushes, you need a frame. And you also need to have the procedure of doing things. Kama najua artist wengi wakona, kila artist akona design yake, akona a unique way ya kufanya kazi yake. And na pia kunao wanatumia a certain way wakuwa wengi, kama a conventional way. But lazima tu artist akona ka uniqueness yake. So as per the spray paints, you must know how to kucheza na hizo vitu juu kifinyi inatoka tu ikiwa kitu moja. So you must know how to play with the colors, the different paints. Kama ni yellow, unajua kuna yellow, kuna medium yellow, kuna fluorescent yellow. You must know all those things. So after doing the art, you need to frame it ndio iweze kuwekwa kwa ukuta. So you frame it. Kuna different types of frames. Kuna frames za canvas, zingine ni different na hizo frames za paper. Kitumia karatasi, you use a different frame. Mounting frames pia ziko. So after all that, you provide kitu kama huu, kama string ya ensure hiyo frame ama hiyo art, the complete piece can be placed on the wall bila damages. Ndio grow, you must know how people are receiving your work out there. Lazima ujue watu wanapenda kazi yako ama wapendi kazi yako. Lazima usikize vile wana comment ndio ujue either kuna some areas you need to correct ama uko tu sawa. So huku nje market, especially in Kenya, kuna time market iko poa. Ukipatana na watu wana appreciate art, utakuta umebaiwa pieces mingi na unaweza shikilia life, unaweza lipa bills zako. But sometimes pia wase wengi hawaelewi, hawana, ni kama hawananga hiyo interest ya art. Mtu anakuambia me I need food, huwezi mwambia nunue art na yeye anataka kununua food. But tunangangana tu. Like kila artist akona motivation ili inamsaidianga kuendelea kufanya pieces zake za arts. Yeah, kuna wale wanapenda kufanya art juu ya kuna tuseme ana inspire na vitu kama horror. Kuna anapenda vitu za racing, entertainment, but for me, mimi napenda colors. Napenda kuona colors zimemix mahali, some bright colors zinacheza tu zikuwa zenyewe tu hivyo. Napenda kumix kucheza na rangi, cause unacheza na rangi unaproduce kitu watu wanashtuka hii ni nini. Na pia napenda kuencode messages ndani ya art. Napenda kuficha vitu ndani ya art vile mtu akiangalia the first glance ni ngumu kuelewa what is going on. The picture ni mzuri, but what is the meaning of the art? It's good to encode messages ndani ya art. Na pia napenda fantasy, ku create vitu waziko juu like an artist is like a god, is a creator. You create things that did not exist. Una fantasize tu juu ya vitu haziko, you just create something new. Na I like that juu inaongeza creativity ya mse. As an artist, creativity inaongezeka create tu vitu. You just imagine things and you create something that watu wanashindwa, watu wanashtuka na watu wanafurahia pia. Industry ya art huku Kenya siwezi sema iko poa sana juu the support what artist wanapata bado haiko sawa. Juu unafanya art but very few people appreciate your talent. Na this is the same to many talents in Kenya, but kwa art si watu wengi embrace the idea ya kupenda art, the representing information kutumia art. Watu bado hawaja kuona hiyo mentality that art is something that should be appreciated very well.
Mambo wase, hii place inaitwa The Hive. Siwezi ita group ase, it's more of artists ama wasanii wanakaa pamoja creating different paintings. Wanajinaice tu kupaint, wanabambika. Yani the feel of the paint, create, interact with each other. Yeah, we inspire each other. The Hive ili come through from Das Depot. Kulikuanga studio tu fulani ilikuwa tao. Tulikuwa tunalidiwa na Patrick Mukabi, tunamwitanga Panye. So venye tulikosa tu place ingine ya kuwakia, tulikamuku kakua The Hive whereby any artist can come through afanye kazi. Yani uko tu na freedom ya kufanya kazi yako, uko limited. Karen Village manze naweza sema it's a place imejaa artists. So yani ukiinteract tu na different artists unapata tu hiyo feel ya ku-create. Unacheki different styles, different things. Alafu kuna historia, hii scenery, nature itself ina inspire artist. Yani kicheki tu artist akiwa place ametulia, piece yake ana create tu poa. Siwezi sema tuna shop number, but ukicheki tu The Hive, ukigoogle The Hive utapata iko hapa. Alafu kuna contact details 0708 652 624 ama 0721 677 348. Msiana kakitu nataka kufanya art. Siwezi sema it's complicated. Naweza mshow tu like atumia tu chenye yako nacho. Kani yo paper, kani yo biro, anza tu nayo. Yani art haifai kuwa limited. Whatever you have, tumia.
Hi, my name is GLena and I run the Made in Kenya store at The Alchemist. What I do is curate designers from Kenya who either make, create and design and assemble their products here in Kenya. So we house about 40 plus brands that are related to fashion, anything to do with apparel, jewelry, books, bags, anything that's made in Kenya. So that's what we do, and we've been here for about 4 years now. The reason why we choose Alchemist is because it brings in a lot of young, hip, creative people who also have the same, understanding of what we do in terms of getting great products that are made in Kenya, and be able to see what we as a shop can provide to the local market. So the reason why we are here, as a space for Made in Kenya, along with The Alchemist, is because Alchemist brings in a great crowd, a great young crowd, not even just young, but crowd that are young, full of life, are into creative, are into seeing new space, having great food, listening to great music, and obviously shopping. And with that, because our shop provides a lot of different designers and artists, there's a lot of options that they can choose from. It also gives them a break from dancing and coming to shop with us. And it also brings in a lot of cultures here at The Alchemist, because we've got people from all over the world coming to visit Alchemist, and this space gives them that option to visit the great food that we have, and also the fashion, and also a barber. If you need to get your hair done. So yeah, Alchemist is a great place to have shop, eat, and have a good time.
Welcome to Sondeka Festival 2021. My name is Vincenzo Carvallo, also known as Dr. Faraz. I'm the co-founder of the NRB Bus Collective, this mobile creative hub behind me. And I'm also the director, the writer and producer of different films, documentaries, TV series, and lately the first interactive VR series on space making in Africa. The NRB bus was born out of the necessity of moving around, because every time we were starting our studio, restoring something, then we would be evicted by the landlord. So we didn't have the money to buy a house or an apartment, so we decided to buy a container at that time. But while we were looking for a container, we found this bus. So we found this bus, we went to industrial area. The person who bought this bus bought it from Hillcrest School, so he was selling it, and if he would not have sold it, he would have converted it into scrap metal and sold it. So we thought at that, it would have been a big loss for the city to lose such a beautiful double-decker bus, which also reminds part of the history of this country and its relationship with its pre-colonial past as well. So how to take something that is the symbol of a colonial history and converting it into something that we could appropriate it, and we could say this is actually the Nairobi bus. And so we restored it and we made it into a studio. We brought it at MuturI Road, number 80, where we stayed for 2 years. At that time there was a magazine called Nairobi Up upstairs, and downstairs we were doing some other work. Then I left for a while. I went to South America to make a TV series. Some other people took over. They turned it into like a sort of club. I heard crazy stories, and that club actually somehow cemented a community that created then after The Alchemist. And so when we got kicked out from MuturI, because obviously they asked us for more money for rental and stuff, then we ended up in The Alchemist, helping the guys of The Alchemist to start up their project. So we helped them with the cultural program, we helped them by building the stage, bringing in the first sound system, helping them getting artists in. And so we went on with The Alchemist for about 3 years. And then after 3 years, we moved the bus here now. And then we focused on a series of projects with Canon, with the support of Canon, and we started to do a lot of workshop, photography workshop, videography workshops. So we needed like a quieter space. And right now we are again at the end of about 3 years in this space, and now we're gonna move again. Where are we going to move? I don't know yet, but we have to move by the 15th of April, so you'll see. I think the peculiarity of the bus is basically that it's a sort of mobile device that creates hubness. So in a sort of way, I think we are not an hub per se, but we do bring that spirit of hubness wherever we go. So wherever we go, we bring in with us the enthusiasm of the creative class, the people working together on different projects. So we hope that the people that will host us in the future will also benefit from us, just as the other people benefit from our presence. The number of people we collaborate with, it's vast, and it would not be fair to name some or not others. What I would say is, when we opened, we did an art exhibition with Paul Onditi. Then we hosted the people of Nairobi Hub. Then the place became the set of a film called Wazi FM. Then we hosted different festival, cinema festival, music festival. I think Nairobi Kenyan Nights started to do some among the most famous parties at the first location of the bus. The same people who created the Muse today were also the same people who organized parties there. What then became the Muse were also organizing parties at the bus. Photographer, videographer, shoot films, did casting in our location. All the musicians that became big and performed at the bus. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I can't even name all of them because there are so many, and they range from musician, photographer, videographers, editors, until the last project we did, in which we involved other mediums such as VR, and we started to do other crazy things. So really, I think we somehow were always inside the dynamics of the creative class, and this is not a coincidence, because we started as a production company in 2009 by producing a film documentary called Maskani Flani, and this documentary was telling the story of what is public space in Kenya, down to its roots of what a maskani is, and how creativity has always been something emerging from this place, how this place were always conducive. So maskani on the coast, base here in Kenya, and then we moved on by bringing Ukoflani from the coast all the way to Berlin, where we did a musical about gentrification. Some of them now live there. Then we recently did African Space Makers. And in African Space Makers, it's all a collaboration with other artists. So Masai Mbili, Brush 2, famous photographers, skaters, just name it. I mean, like, I don't want to create a list because someone may feel left out. African Space Maker is the story of two guys who come here for a workshop on urban storytelling. There are two actors. One is K1 and the other one is Samantha Mugazia. And they meet a trainer, and the trainer is Raymond Ofula. and the trainer gives them a mission, and the mission is go to discover different creative spaces and different urban heroes within Nairobi. And they get inside a matatu, which is an imaginary matatu, in which the makanga is Neno Kali. And they start just to explore so many different places. So they ended up at railway, train station, museum with the graffiti artist. Then they end up in Buruburu at Brush 2. Then they end up in Dandora dumping site. Then they end up in Kitengela. Then they end up in Aga Khan Walk to understand what the skaters do with that space. Then they ended up drinking Jabba juice, which is a juice made of cut on the top roof of a building in town. I mean, I think it's a notable work. We won some very big awards. We were accepted at Venice Film Festival. You know, there is nothing more dangerous than creating a festival in this moment. There is nothing more dangerous than having people actually gathering together physically in a public space. And actually there is not much public space in African cities, as you know, predatory governments, predatory society takes away the public space from people, privatize everything. So I think space making, what Masai and Billy do in Kibera, what the skaters do at Aga Khan Walk by transforming a parking lot into a skate parks where kids can play. I mean, all these kinds of things deserve to be highlighted, and I think that's our most notable work. Yeah. As I said, gentrification, urban development is the biggest challenge we are dealing with, because the space in Nairobi is getting less and less and less accessible, less available. There are less gardens like this. There are like, most probably this place will become like a 25-floor building. And I think it's okay. It's part of the development of a city, but it's also a challenge for creatives, you know, because as a creatives and as creative hubs, we need places like this that are quiet, that where there are trees, and that they are not too far from the city. Because if you send me like 100 kilometers from Nairobi, how do I interact with the creative sector? So we need small oases of peace within the city. And this is important for creatives, and the government of Kenya needs to understand that. You know, it needs to give us space to put the bus, to create festivals, we need space. And that's why I'm saying African Space Maker is such an important project for me, because it's really pointing the finger there where it's needed, to ownership, private property over commons. So how much land do you want to take away from people, you know? You can't have a society or a city where people don't have sidewalks, where people don't have squares, where people cannot talk. You know, you can't have a society where the only place where people or teenagers wants to go out are the malls. And that's the whole idea of why it's important to support the Go Down in town, why it's important to have spaces. Major challenges for me, but not just for me, I believe for all the creative spaces in Nairobi, are the space itself. What I always say is, if the government doesn't have money, that's fine. Give us space. Give us space for free. Give us a way of lift the slavery of rental payment. Because this is contemporary slavery, paying a rent. So you're asking creatives to pay a rent, but with that money that they pay the rent, they could do so much more. So, you know, let's say we want to pay taxes Let's say we want to pay everything. Let's say we want to even pay our own rent for living, but let's create a system that gives space to the creatives. Space, nothing else. Give us space. And also let us play and let us be in charge of helping people in the city to experience the city in a different way, to allow people to experience the city without a purpose. We are always busy. People are always busy. They always have to go from one place to another with a purpose. People don't just go around. They don't just, wandering around the city, but we should wander around the city. We should end up at the bus, by mistake. We should end up at Creative Village because we are going around. So my challenge with Nairobi and my challenge with the situation here is that the society doesn't allow us to relax even 1 second. We have to pay rent, we have to do this, we have to do that. It seems like enjoying public space or stuff like this, it's something that it's only allowed to people who live in the north, in the first world countries. But you don't need money or resources to allow citizens to enjoy their city and to be creative. You just need policies that encourage creativity. I would like to see the bus in the next 15 years becoming part of the landscape of this city. So I was talking with John Boya about the future of Go Down, and I was like, you know what, I would love the bus to be actually put inside the cement that the Go Down is going to use to make its own new building. Like the bus shall be half inside, half outside, no? And you can see the shape. And I will resist until I can, because all the time people ask me, why don't you sell this bus so that they can make a restaurant out of it? Why don't you make a restaurant out of it? No, I hope the bus will still be a symbol of the creative economy, and that young people from Nairobi, from other parts of Kenya, Africa, and the world will be able to maybe do workshops at the bus, meet at the bus, and doing things at the bus, and that's my hope and my dream. I don't want anything else. I hope all of you will be able to enjoy Sondeka Festival 2021, and most importantly, remember, let yourself drift into the city of Nairobi. Don't always go from one place to another with an objective. One of these days, just go out, walk, get lost, see what happens. Bye.
I'm Wanja Kathungo, and the name of our studio is Nakshi Glass. We're based at Karen Village, and what we actually do is architectural work, but we also do small home decor pieces, whereby we recycle old glass and turn it to something still usable in our homes or in the form of ornaments. Whatever inspired me with working with glass is having friends who work with glass, and I ended up most of the time I was just spending a lot of time with them, helping them, and I realized it's quite a fun thing, and it's interesting when you actually take a piece of glass and turn it to something, and when you see the end product, then it's kind of a motivation. We're at Karen Village, Studio 15 and 16. Handles Nakshi Glass, and the cell phone number is 0716 911146.
My name is John Hughes Legend. I run H&M Studios here in Karen Village, and it's a beautiful space and a picturesque Karen. Actually, is it Karen or Bulbul? I'm not quite sure. I think it's at the border. And this creative space here, it's a beautiful space where a lot of creatives congregate and create magic, whether it's writers, poets, filmmakers, musicians, metal workers, glass workers, you name it, it's here. And why Karen Village? Because Anthony, the originator of the place, had a vision. He wanted to create a place where creatives can congregate and share ideas and create beautiful art. And that's what's happening here. Here at the studio, H&M Studios, we basically are in the video production, podcast production, audio and video in the podcast realm. And as well, we're branching out to do more docu-style productions. At H&M Studios, we're basically delving into the realm of video podcasting and audio, naturally. And we are basically branching out into docu-series, TV series, and different projects. And there's a main project that's actually on the back burner right now, but we're trying to revive it for possibly 2022, which might be a little tricky because of the election year and stuff like that. This is a big project in the pipeline, which we had to put up on the back burner because of the whole pandemic and so on. So we're looking to possibly pick things back up after, post-election. And from that point on, we'll still be here thriving in the beautiful Karen Village at H&M Studios. And we're looking forward to, to make some waves out here, create some beautiful productions and engaging content, whether it's in the video realm or the podcast realm. So this is what we aim to do. My inspiration, I believe it started way back. As far back as I can remember. And it stems from a wanting to tell beautiful stories, to tell stories about us, our journey, whether it's on the continent or in the diaspora. I want to tell those native African stories that actually touch us, and stories that allow the young ones to see themselves, to see representation, because oftentimes these stories are told through other people's lenses. And until we ourselves hold the pen and tell our own stories, our stories will be told for us by other people. So my inspiration is, in fact, just to contribute to the narrative and take the pen away from those who don't deserve the pen to tell our stories, our native, melanated stories. I don't say black stories, but they're melanated stories. Here's the thing, right? We don't actually need to measure ourselves against anybody else, but for the sake of fairness and balance, I think we can. We actually are in a position to compete with the best of the best, and not only technically, right? We're in terms of scenery, in terms of lush landscapes, mountaintops to the beach, the coastal area, to Mount Kenya, to Mount Ololokwe, to the vastness of the sand dunes, right? There's so many untapped, unexplored scenery that's here, okay? That's in the landscape. But in terms of sheer talent, I think we can compete with the best of the world. We can, in fact, if I dare say it myself, we can outshine them because the creativity is there. And as you know, in terms of, I'm going to go on a limb now and say swag culture is melanin culture. All right, any swag in the world comes from the melanin drip, baby. I mean, look at hip hop. Where did it come from? Now hip hop is all over the world, and even I just watched a dope video, right? And shot with my man manning the boom pole, right? He's a writer, he writes music, and what I heard is kind of reminiscent of De La Soul, Tribe Called Quest, Diggable Planets. It's that type of a vibe. It's got that kind of like swag, that New York swag, that hip hop swag, and go as far back as rock and roll. I mean, that's melanin swag. Go to hip hop, go to jazz, go to pop music. It's all melanin swag. So once we put our heads together and decide, listen, we taking over. And you see a glimmer of that already, because what's happening now with bongo music, Diamond Platinums, the Wasafi, those boys, right? They're doing bad stuff. I was gonna curse, but that's not that kind of show here. So, you can see that happening already. A few years ago, first time I was here, all you heard was Davido, boom, boom. If I tell you that I love you, boom, boom. We don't want to strike, so no copyrights. I'm just singing along, all right? That's already there, okay? You see a glimmer of that. The musicians, the artists, the filmmakers, the set designers, the fashion designers, you name it, it's all there. We just now need to consolidate and say, you know what? We're not relying on the outside world to get validation. We're going to validate ourselves, and they're going to come to us. Now, they're going to consume, instead of us talking about, well, Leonardo DiCaprio did this or Brad Pitt did that. No, we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about, I don't have any African names in here, but Kojo did this, you know what I'm saying? We're going to talk about Mwaora did this. My name is Mwaora, by the way. That's my Kikuyu name, you know what I'm saying? So, you know what I mean? So we can compete. We just have to come to the realization that, hey, listen, Africa is 1.2 billion strong. You see what I'm saying? If that market comes together, ain't no stopping. By 2030, Africa will be 1.3, 1.5 billion. By 2050, 2 billion people. So a huge market. And the AFCFTA just came into action last month. The African Free Trade Continental Agreement, right? You know what that means? That means all the borders that were put together by the colonizers, those borders are going to be gone. Okay, now you're going to be able to trade on a continental level. You set up a company here, you'll be able to trade in Ghana or in Burkina Faso or in Liberia. You see what I mean? Your business license will be available, will be valid all over the continent, just like the European Union, just like the United States of America. You see? Because they know what's up. So we need to also realize that this is what we need to do. So I know I went a little political right there, but in the grand scheme of things, this is what will now solidify our footing. This is what's going to put us together and say, you know what? Yeah, we're the ish.